Hi, welcome to this lightning talk with the 2023 Code for All Summit. I'm Singh Carlsen. I'm the Government Success Manager for North America at CitizenLab. And today I'm going to be talking about what engagement beyond elections looks like. How are cities across North America leveraging technology, specifically the CitizenLab platform in our use cases today, to bring their residents into the policymaking cycle? How are they leveraging feedback to co-create projects and policy together? Let's get started. CitizenLab is a platform, a digital community engagement platform that is designed by and with the IAP2 spectrum. So the International Association of Public Participation has created this 5-step gradient of different ways that residents can be engaged in public policy. CitizenLab is designed in such a way where you can use tools in every single section of this toolbox, whether you want to just inform your residents all the way to directly empowering them. So let's talk about the case studies. The city of Lancaster, Pennsylvania sought feedback on its South Duke Street from residents to improve safety. And what I like about this project framework right off the bat is that it acknowledges residents as the eyes and ears of the city. They are the experts of this street, and so their user experience is really valuable to the more high-level planners who may not have that lived experience as a user. The project was broken down into 7 phases, which reflect the life cycle of feedback gathering, decision-making, and implementation. You'll notice that a timeline deviates from the typical one-off engagement that cities often do in the form of standalone surveys or community meetings. What I like about the timeline feature is that it brings residents along through every stage of the project, so you're closing the feedback loop and increasing transparency and trust between the municipality and its residents. Lancaster used an interactive mapping tool that allowed residents to drop pins and leave comments on specific points of the delineated South Duke Street corridor. Administrators were able to upload layers that clearly highlighted where residents should comment, and the project description outlined the parameters of desired feedback, instructing residents on what commentary would be most valuable to planners. Communication via the mapping tool is two-way, so the city of Lancaster was able to respond, thanking the resident for their input. And so this is one way to close the feedback loop. And another way is this summary of community responses that Lancaster put out after the engagement phase had been completed. The gesture not only builds trust, but indicates that feedback had been actively analyzed and integrated into the project process. The final message listed in the description, which cites the percentage of resident votes and how policy areas were determined by feedback, also creates transparency in the policymaking process. What we can learn from this is that involving residents in the beginning of a policy or project can really help strengthen the relationship between a municipality and its residents from the get-go. It's also a really good way to get community-led and community-sanctioned change that gets buy-in. So oftentimes what we see is that residents feel like municipalities and city operations are sort of a black box with no transparency, and decisions are kind of handed down, whereas what Lancaster did so successfully was bring residents in from the beginning and lead them along the journey of how exactly their feedback was going to be laid out. And so moving on, the City of Seattle Office of Planning and Community Development used CitizenLab for its comprehensive plan update. So the plan served as both an informational and engagement hub for residents and centered equity as its primary focus. So the platform dovetailed with in-person events and community-based organization partnerships, so complementing a hybrid strategy of engagement. What I find most striking about their approach is this example of seeking resident feedback on the scope of an environmental review. Seattle prompted residents with questions like, what issues and topics should be addressed? What locations should be considered for housing and jobs? And what analysis is needed to address environmental impacts and community concerns? This was done in an effort to identify blind spots in historical environmental review processes that could be illuminated by community input. It was incredibly successful, receiving over 850 submissions and totaling over 1,400 participants. This goes to show that residents truly rise to the occasion when they are given the opportunity to meaningfully engage outside of voting. The feedback gathered was rich with detail, nuance, and intellect, allowing Seattle planners to analyze a wealth of community knowledge for a better, stronger environmental review. Our last example is the city of Allen, Texas. Allen updated the traditionally analog process of bond election subcommittees by using CitizenLab to mirror its in-person subcommittee engagement online. Some quick background on bond election subcommittees. The City of Allen invites residents to join subcommittees that collectively identify target areas of municipal interest to be considered for bond funding. So their suggestions are then ratified by the council, then go up for general election. This process has historically been solely in person. However, using their digital tool, the City of Allen was able to gather significantly more feedback throughout the subcommittee process. Right off the bat, we see an extensive list of resources made available to site visitors who simply want more information. For folks who were unable to attend an in-person interest meeting, there was a virtual volunteer feature that allowed them to indicate their interest in participating in a particular subcommittee. Recordings were then shared of the kickoff meeting, and then each respective meeting was linked on the phase, and then they opened up the floor to ideas related to each subcommittee. Residents were able to ask questions, submit their ideas, and collaborate with each other online. Finally, there was a survey that compiled the priority areas identified by the subcommittee, which received over 350 submissions. This was an unprecedented level of involvement by residents in this process, and the entire project is a stellar example of how online and offline engagement can not only coexist, but amplify each other. So, these three examples are honestly just a drop in the bucket as far as how cities are innovating their community engagement, resident engagement processes across North America and the world, frankly. So I think some of the takeaways as practitioners, whether you are in GovTech like me, or you're a public servant, a community organizer, or simply a concerned resident, is that we really want a participatory future. So the idea that technology like CitizenLab can be leveraged for mass community action, and in fact led by municipalities themselves, I find really inspiring. So I hope you found something interesting to take away from today. If you have any questions or comments, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. Thank you so much, and enjoy the rest of your day.